Yeah, so in the previous video we talked about the Fibonacci sequence, in which I wrote the code of the Fibonacci sequence using the recursive function, using a recursive function named fib. So I didn't taught you guys about the function structure. So in this video we would be talking about function structure, means how do we write a function structure. So first of all, before using a function in your main function, before using a function that is made by you in your main function, you have to tell it to the compiler that there is a function named dash and dash which you are using it in the main that exists. So any function which you are using in the main, you should write its name above or before the main function. So we'll talk about it later. First of all, what we are going to talk about how a function structure looks like. So what we are going to talk is function structure. Okay, so it begins like this. Firstly, you need to write the return type. Return type is what? It means which type of value are you going to return. Means is it going to be a integer or floating type value, or you are going to return a true false, which is boolean value. So we need to define the return type, means the type of value your function returns. Okay, so firstly we write the return type of the function, then after that we leave one or two blank space, and then write the, in general we use one space tab, we click the one space tab for once. You can use it as many times as you want, but you have to use it because we can't write like name and then return type in a single word, because otherwise it would make no sense. Our compiler won't be able to differentiate between the return type and the name of function. So yeah, firstly we write the return type, its type of value that our function is going to return. What are examples of return type? In general we return the variables are like integer, float, and then if you are returning true or false value, we write bool. If you are using Java, you write boolean, but I'd be talking in C++, so I'm telling you int, float, and bool. And you can use, there are other variables as well. There are other variables as well which you can use, and this is how you write firstly return type, then your name of function. So whatever it is, and in general we prefer to give our function a meaningful name. Like if you, in the previous video, if we see, we were writing a function for the Fibonacci sequence. So what we did was naming the function as fib. So if somebody else is reading our code, if you are writing the function for Fibonacci sequence and you wrote it difference, like diffly, you wrote it diff, and then other person is reading it, and it should make sense. So whenever you are giving a function a name, it should make sense. So you need to give it a sensible name, means which has some meaning. And then after that you have your parameters, means what is the input that function is going to take. So it's parameters, and while writing the parameters you need to define the return type of the you need to define the type of the parameter as well. So for example, if you are taking input a value like integer, then you have to write int. I'm giving you example as well, int, and then the name of the variable. So this is your return type, and then name of the variable. For example, if you are taking input a value named a or b, whatever the name of your variable is, you write int a, int b, whatever it is. So it takes parameters can be any number of as you need, and then after that what begins is your body. And I know I have already messed up this area by giving you the meaning of these terms, so leave it. Just body begins after this curly braces, opening of the curly bracket. So in this section what we do is we write the body. For example, in the previous function of our Fibonacci sequence, we wrote the base case and the return type of the function. So here we have our body. So and then we use a closing curly bracket for the closing of the function, and this is how we do it. So in general, if we define the structure of the function, it is like, firstly you give the return type, then you leave some space, then you write the name of function, and then you have your input parameters, input paras. Okay, then this is your body, or this section contains the work that your function is going to perform. And after that, if you return some value, you just return that thing, it is the part of the body. And then you just use the closing bracket to define that your function is closed. And this is all the structure of function. So yeah, it is like this. First you have your return type, then you have the name of the function, then input parameters, whatever you are going to pass to the function, and then you have your body and return type. So this is what it is. Thank you. Don't like or subscribe, just comment your views, means were you able to understand it, or any flaws that you found in my video, and where should I improve, if you have some suggestions or ideas. And thanks for watching.